Today I'm going to share my favorite method to reboot your dream self so that you can feel energized becoming her or him while you're also making sure that you're not staying in your old version. And I'm also going to share with you the strategies that you need so that you can hold yourself in that vibration of your new self. So, when it comes to our new self and our old self, essentially it is both you. It's different parts of you. But when we're talking about moving into our new self, it's a way of making it easy for ourselves to understand how we can navigate between two different versions and expand in a way that how we live our life, how we behave in our lives, what attitudes and habits that we have, and also how we choose to show up as for ourselves and also for the world. So when you are picturing yourself, your new version, usually we can get into different type of visualizations. We can do some journalings about it. I will share in a minute a couple of like journal prompts that you can start with if you haven't done this from before. But it's essentially an understanding, okay, how is this person showing up as I said, right? So when we have been doing this kind of journaling practice, we do this visualization and so forth, we feel energized, we feel boosted, we feel that, yeah, great, I'm on the right track towards my goals, towards living the dream life that I want to live. But after a while, we notice often that it starts to fade. And we start to fade because we, one, get back into our old self. You know, the old self have different type of habits and beliefs and behaviors and schedules and all of that. And that maybe is a version of us that has created these habits for a very long time. So of course we will also, get ourselves and sink back a little bit into that old self. And number two, we don't have the strategies for it. So we don't usually have the strategies to hold the vibration of that new version of ourselves. So when we've done this different type of practices, we kind of getting out of it and continue our day as usual. And that is not the way that we want to do it if we want to make a change and if we want to step in even more into our dream self and our dream life. So now I'm going to share with you the method that you are going to use to reboot your dream self. And then after that, I will also talk about the importance in regards to that and give you a little bit other tweaks. Okay, so here's the reboot. First and foremost, I want you to pick a day. I prefer, for instance, a Sunday, a day when you have a little bit more space than usual, so that you that day can also have space to reflect, to, make some tweaks and become or be a little bit more aware than you may are like when you're having a busy and hectic schedule, for instance, right? This is something that we want to get into a little bit later, right? That we're always very aware, even though we have a lot going on and so forth, but we want to start to make it easy for ourselves, right? So pick a day when you maybe are off or something like that. So I thought that Sunday is perfect because Sundays usually also we may have some certain type of chores. We may have some laundry doing, or we maybe are planning ahead for our week or something like that. So we also have kind of mundane regular tasks. Okay, so I want you to pick a day where this new version of yourself will do very similar tasks to what your old version is doing right now. That's why I'm saying like a Sunday, for instance. Maybe you still see that your new version, the one that you want to step into, will still be doing laundry, or you will still go for walks or whatever, right? And then when that day comes, I want you to get into the energy of that new version of yourself. So some questions that you can ask yourself to start with might be, what version am I stepping into? How does he or her workday, weekdays, weekends look like? How is my lifestyle, right? How is my relationships and the relationship with me? What behaviors, habits, and attitudes do I carry around with? And also, how does this version think, feel, and act differently than I do today? And why is that? So give yourself some space going through this Sunday, these questions, answering them, and just answering them purely from the heart, whatever comes up for you, so that you have a little bit of a picture how that looks like. Because we need it in the next step. So maybe in your journaling, you pointed out that, okay, this version of you is more kind, sweet, gentle towards yourself and others. You maybe see that this version of you is more nurturing, or this version of you is listening more into their own rhythm. Whatever it is for you, like whatever popped up for you, make these kind of key points that you noticed and bring them into that day. So with this knowing, you're going to play out a very regular day in this version. You're not going to change anything, okay? You're not going to change, like, let's say that you, in this journaling, you realize that, okay, this is a very different lifestyle. This version is maybe doing skiing or high intense cardio or something else, right, that you don't do today, right? You're not going to do any of those activities. You're going to do the same very old activities that you do today, okay? But you are going to be in a very different energy. You are going to act from a very different state. You're going to operate, as I usually say, from a very different state. Why we do this is because we have to learn how to close the gap between our old version and our new version that we want to emerge into. Because when we want to, see that we want to make this kind of lifestyle changes, we need to internally also be on board with it. And it's actually when we are changing our energy and when we are changing our attitude towards life, we can actually make that long-lasting change in different habits, routines, and so forth as well. And what we usually forget is that when we're picturing ourselves, our dream self and our dream life and how that looks like, we easily tend to see this kind of picture. And this picture, we are like looping ourselves. Maybe we know a lot of visualizations and we do a lot of visualization. We're just looping this picture over and over again. But we forget that this new version of ourselves will probably still make the laundry, right? If you haven't manifested that you will never need to make laundry any longer, that can be the case, right? But if that isn't so, that version will still make the laundry or plan for the week or plan for the meals or whatever it is, right? So that's why we also need to become a little bit more, almost mundane with this version, so to say, so that we live out life and we experience life differently while we still just like being us and living the life that we live, right? Because as I said, it's so easy to just picture yourself and believe that this dream self, this new dream life will be so different and it will be so extraordinary all the time. But it will come days when you feel that, oh, okay, this I've been doing over and over again, even though this is a part of your dream life. Another thing why this is so important to not change anything yet in our lives, but actually just showing up as that person directly in the life that we are living in right now, is because usually we can have this hidden stacked energy in our day-to-day regular tasks. Okay, so I will take the laundry as an example. I will continue to that an example. The old version of me did laundry in a very different way. The old version of me did laundry in a way that she hated it. She felt that, oh, do I need to do the laundry again? She was complaining about it. She always called a friend or someone else to just talk on the phone the whole night with that friend just because she was doing laundry. So she, many of those days, forgot to eat or had very late dinner because she was just busy, being in the phone with her friend and going up and down and fixing the laundry, right? And that was the older version of me. The new version of me and the version of me that I am today do laundry very, very differently. The new version of me is thanking myself for making sure that I have clean clothes because that feels great to me. And the new version of me makes sure that when she go up and down to fix her laundry, she's actually reflecting on life. She's reflecting on the day, she's reflecting on the week, she's like reflecting and feeling into like, how has this week been actually? And what do I want to continue with this week? What do I want to maybe do differently from this week? She has this as a very evolving moment for her to just be with herself. And also she go down and just like, wow, I actually get to do this. Life is this amazing. Life is this beautiful that I actually get to do this kind of mundane task that you do over and over, and I just get to do that. I actually have a life that I get to be a little bit bored sometimes and do things that I think is so boring. Wow, that's amazing actually. You see the difference between those two versions, right? Those two versions live a very different life because I showed up differently. I don't carry on, complaint, for instance. That complaint will not just be in my laundry making, right? If we have the habit of complaining, I will complain in other tasks as well, right? But because I shifted in one particular area where I felt that, why am I leaking energy here, right? Then I also created the new habit of not complaining over small tasks, right? And then that continue in another area and continue in another area. So you see that we are always creating this kind of loop, as I usually talk about, when we are recreating the wheel in one way or another, so that we create something very new and something very different. But I still did the same things, right? I still showed up and made the laundry once a week that I usually do, right? But I did it very differently and I showed up in a different energy. And due to that, I also suddenly found space for reflecting on my week, reflecting on my goals, reflecting where I'm at, so that I can also stay consistent to my goals, to my dreams, so that I can also stay consistent to taking care of my mental health, which I think is important. And reflection is one of the things that we tend to forget throughout our weeks, actually. So that was my way of finding space for that. So part number 2, how do we stay in this energy? How do we not only keep it to a Sunday, but how do we also stay in this energy consistently and continue to do this? You can do as I did, pick a task that you want to show up differently, but I would also recommend you to find a task which you do a couple of days a week, preferably actually every single day. And this task will be a certain type of task where you feel that this is actually how I want to show up differently, but it's also representative of how I want to show up differently in general in my life, right? So this can be your way to work, or this can be when you are making food, or when you are doing your evening routine, or when you are watching series, if you do that every day, even though I'm not necessarily recommend that, but yeah, you live your life, right? So this can be different type of ways how what you do on a regular day-to-day basis. And throughout this task, you're going to decide for yourself how you want to show up differently in that task. You're going to ask yourself, what's the energy that I'm carrying out in this task today? What is it that I do? What is it that I think? And how can I do that differently from what I do today? So let's say that you notice that when you're going to make your breakfast, you're thinking that, oh, I never know what to make for breakfast. I want to do something different. It feels boring, but I'm hungry. Let's say that you have those things in your mind, right? Pick that day then. Show it, because that is a representation of something bigger, right? Is your version complaining over life that can actually be very beautiful and be a very beautiful moment for you to take in the nutrition that your body needs, so that you can stay energetic throughout your days, so that you can continue to live your dream life, so that you have energy and focus to reaching your goals, right? To live out in a way that you want to meet people in the way that you want to, right? So when we see it from that perspective, our breakfast becomes quite important, actually. And shouldn't we take care of our breakfast a little bit better then, right? So really find that type of task, or that type of chore, or that type of activity that you do on a day-to-day basis. Just pick one for now that makes it easy for you to already, when you are in that habit, start to act as if you are your new version. And then you can let it go if you want to, right? Because this will remind you and reboot yourself every single day of that, oh, wait a minute, now I'm going to make my breakfast, or now I'm going to go for my daily workout or whatever. Righty, I was about to, be in this kind of energy and show up in this type of way. Great. So you get this kind of reminder, you're rebooting yourself, and you're shorting and learning, practicing to be and familiarize yourself with that version. And it's also going to become easier because you're choosing a task or a chore or an activity that you do already today as your old version. So you're going to be able to close the gap between your old version and your new version much easily, because you don't need to make any type of change. You don't need to make new space for something new, or, not just yet. Of course, I always recommend us to do that. We can talk about that another time. But just for this method and this strategy, it's great for us to already pick something that we do already today. So the only thing that we need to focus on is in what energy that we show up in that activity. So I hope that you're super excited to reboot your dream self this Sunday now, and that you are so excited to get yourself into that vibration more often and be able to hold that vibration. If you want to reboot your desires, understand how you can desire a life and your dream life from a very different state than you've done from before. If you want to tweak and really deep dive into your attitudes, behaviors, and how you show up and operate from life, then I would definitely recommend you to check out my course, The Fulfill You. I will leave all the information in the description for you to read through a little bit that. And I do also have Becoming Your Best Self audit sessions. So if you want to have a little bit more close on one-to-one conversation with me, where we go through your days and how you create your dream self, how you become the better version of yourself, and how you can make these adjustments in your life where we maybe have this stacked energy, for instance, where you maybe have this hidden energy where you don't really see that, okay, here we have to make a change, here we have to make actually a move, because usually we can get a little bit blind when it comes to our old habits or something that we have done for a very long while. Hope this was so helpful for you and inspiring, and let me know what you thought about this episode. Write some notes about what you're taking away from this episode, and keep on listening to you within Talks. See you next time. Bye.